Well, let's stay in KwaZulu-Natal. Emergency teams there have been placed on high alert in the province as another level 5 warning has been issued by the Weather Service. People have been cautioned against unnecessary travel as many roads are flooded. Nqobile Madlala is there. She joins us live now for the latest. What are we learning, Nqobile?
Well, we know that a couple of roads in and around eThekwini have been affected. But at the same time, we know also there are homes that have been flooded, even though we saw a bit of EMS going on the ground and assisting some of those families. At the same time, we've got the Lamontville victims, flood victims that are now affected yet again. This is after the flooding also took place in the same area that they were left in. And of course, that then means that we need to get an update from the province in terms of how far they are in assisting these people. And that's why I'm going to bring in now my guest, the spokesperson for the MEC of Human Settlement as well as Transport. I think it's very important to highlight first that there are many roads that have been affected. Can you take us through which infrastructure has been affected at this point?
Well, thank you very much. Look, as you correctly point out, if you look at Durban area, roads have been flooded. You go further south, Potchefstroom, there are roads that have been, affected, as well as houses that have been, flooded. We are once again experiencing the cut-off low, the low pressure system, as we've been, informing the viewers of Newzroom Afrika, that gets separated from the main airflow. The rain that you are seeing, it just gets concentrated in one area. That is why you see the drainage system getting overwhelmed. And, you see the stormwater infrastructure getting destroyed because it cannot cope with, the more than 180, millimeters of water. But what the MEC has said, as Monso to me has said, if possible tomorrow morning, together with the mayor of eThekwini Club, they are going to, visit Shallcross because there's a land that has been acquired. The eThekwini municipality, they've got what we call a proactive land release strategy, which was approved a couple of years ago as part of responding to the impact of climate change. So we've got pockets of land that we are preparing to house some of the victims that have been affected by the floods. And recently we had the mudslides, we had the landslides in Umkababa. These are some of the families that we want to make sure that they are resettled. But then again, the road infrastructure, 2022, we experienced a heavy rainfall of above 200 to 300 millimeters, destroying the infrastructure. The national roads and Sanral has been fixing some of the roads, as well as the provincial roads. The Department of Transport has been fixing some of the roads. There are roads that belong to the municipalities. What is very tricky is that when roads are destroyed, we have to reprioritize budget. That is why MEC Sponsor Duma has said, both the HODs, HOD Transport, Sponisom Bell, and HOD Human Settlement, Nqobile must work together so that we are able to, to have plans, to turn around the situation.
All right. And of course, at the moment, we know that the Lamontville victims, as the people that are going to be beneficiary to that land, currently some of them that are left behind have had a bit of flooding that has taken over. I mean, with that household that lost about 3 people, they were the ones that were flooded and they had to run again out. What's the solution now for those victims? What is the city and the province trying to do to help them?
When the MEC was in Wamakuta yesterday during the funeral of Mr. Nkwanyana, he announced that the Minister of Human Settlements, Thembi Simelane, will be in the province on Tuesday and Wednesday, just to augment all the interventions. There are temporary residential units that are being built. If you look at various parts of KwaZulu-Natal, we've got more than 1,000, temporary residential units that are being constructed as we speak. The contractors are on site. And look, the victims of the floods in Lamontville, about 21 families have been moved into a hotel, and there is assessment that is being done by a roving team from Human Settlements, as mandated by the MEC Sponsor Duma, working together with the Mayor Cyril Club, because Durban is the hardest hit. You look at Folweni, you look at Adams Mission, you look at Umbumbulu and various places, Mukababa. Those are the areas that have been affected. But the roving team is working flat out, interacting with the councillors and also the early warning system, COCTA, the Disaster Management Committee, is also assisting with the early warning system. Now, when you look at the climate change summit that was announced by His Majesty in Lulamiti, the MEC sponsor to me said the department must start preparing for that summit so that we are able to make a meaningful input to shape the way forward.
And where we are standing right now, we've seen some of the flooding that has taken place just on the way to Mount Edgecombe Hospital. And that, of course, that affects the EMS, which we know at this moment is currently busy. We've seen even a message on some of the groups where they've said that they've got a lot of calls that are coming in and they're responding to quite a number of these calls. How's the reaction now with EMS? What's going on there? Are you aware of what's happening?
Well, the Emergency Medical Rescue Services that is attached to the government, is working hand in glove with the private sector. There's that integrated approach, which is very encouraging. The private sector working with government departments, just to provide solutions. There's no lamenting. All what is being done is to find solutions, is to rescue those that are affected, and also to prevent any a loss of life. As we move forward, we'll be intensifying what you call the institutional arrangement. That is what MEC Doma has suggested, that there should be that institutional arrangement so that we work with one plan, bringing in the academics, bringing in the NGOs, bringing in the environmental affairs department, as well as other NGOs that are in the environmental management space. You remember in 2011, we hosted the COP17. We hosted the climate change scientists here in KwaZulu-Natal, and we then put together a climate change council, which the Premier, as he indicated, is being resuscitated. So that is why MEC Doma is saying, as the Department of Human Settlement, Department of Transport, we must move with speed and make sure that we make a meaningful contribution, in that climate change council, which is being resuscitated.
And perhaps it's just the last question. We know that students are going to be affected. It might be Sunday today, but we don't know how bad the situation will be tomorrow. Are you aware of any schools that are affected? Is there anything that the government will be looking at in terms of assisting them?
Well, if you go to deep rural areas, you go to Umthonjane local municipality, in Kwasanguye, you go to Empangeni, you go to Mhlatuzo, you go to deep rural areas. Bridges are destroyed, and it is a fact, and it is something that we've internalized, that there are learners that are actually going to be isolated. So long as we have this cut-off law, this low pressure system that gets separated from the main airflow, we are still going to be having all this rainfall. So other than the schools that are going to be affected, also the entire value chain of the supply chain gets disrupted, because KwaZulu-Natal, Durban in particular, is the heartbeat of the economy of the nation. We've got the biggest harbour, we've got the Richards Bay port, and we've got goods that are imported and goods that are exported. So when there is that cut-off flow pressure system that is dumping a lot of rainfall, the entire supply chain gets disrupted, the export gets disrupted. So it is the economy of the country that is getting disrupted. When your roads are flooded, goods cannot move up and down, goods cannot be taken to various countries as well as to Joburg. Though this is the situation that we are facing.
All right, thank you very much for speaking to us. Well, painting a very bleak picture there for KwaZulu-Natal as well as South Africa. Like he says, that it's a very important part of the country, especially when it comes to that movement of goods between South Africa, between the country in itself, between KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. So a very important part there. But of course, people on the ground are also devastated. We've got places that have been flooded, bridges that has been broken down, and just behind us a good example of what happens when people are struggling. We've seen already the area behind us being flooded and some of the cars struggling to drive past. So this is basically what is taking place in KwaZulu-Natal. Until the floods stop, then only then will there be solutions. But we do know now that the MEC as well as the mayor are going to go on the ground to look at that land so they are able to move some of the victims in that area. But for now, those that are in Lamontville are struggling, and they don't know what they're going to do, because tonight, if it does floods, then they are stuck with that problem again.
Nqobile Madlala, we appreciate you live for us there in Phoenix, in KwaZulu-Natal, with that update on the weather conditions.